So the new Five Nights at Freddy's movie came out. I saw it. Now I'm talking about it. Just a heads up, the first section of this video will be mostly spoiler-free, but the latter half won't be, so I'll give you another warning before you get the movie ruined for you. Either way, I'd suggest just watching the movie first and forming your own opinion. Okay, so the first Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Was it an amazing movie? No, not at all. Was it a good movie? It depends on who you ask. But did I love the first movie? Yes, I did. I've been chronically obsessed with Fnaf ever since I was like 10 years old, and my obsession hasn't really faded ever since. And so even just seeing these characters and designs on the big screen was enough to keep me entertained. But even outside of it, coming from one of my favorite franchises, I still think the movie was fun on its own. Sure, it's cheesy, sure it's not exactly scary, but I wasn't going into it expecting a work of art. I wanted a fine enough experience which did my childhood icons justice and brought one of the coolest communities of people together. And it did. And as far as the people outside of the community watching it, could they get anything out of it? I mean, I watched this movie in the theater with my mom and we both had a good time, so going into the second movie, I was really excited to have that same experience again. This time with an even bigger cast of characters I know and love. I had to wait a little bit to go see it. I only watched the movie last night, and leading up to it, I saw a lot of reviews from people outside of the FNAF community calling it embarrassing and completely confusing, which are both critiques they sharded out for the first movie. So I was a lot less annoyed by the bad reviews this time. If anything, they kind of just served as a guarantee that the second movie would be on par with the first. And was it? I think so. In a lot of ways, I think the second movie was much better, while in others, I think it got lost in the sauce a little bit. For one, this movie had a lot to balance. It has to squeeze everything from the second game and bits from the third and fourth games into an hour and a half, and you can feel it coming apart at the seams a little. I thought people saying the first movie was too complex and too hard to follow was really dumb. Like, again, my mom couldn't have cared or known less about FNAF going into it, and she still understood it completely. Ghost kids and robots, guys. However, I can definitely understand that critique more this time around. The movie rewards FNAF fans and leaves normal people in the dust a lot of the time. I kept wishing we could just get one or two more flashbacks showing us, like, William Afton in the early days, or more of Michael Afton or Henry. But instead, each character is limited to one or two scenes, and despite being probably the best parts of the movie, feel like they're dangling these awesome characters and plot points on a stick and going, not yet, you gotta wait for the third movie. But honestly, them reserving so much for the next one makes me worried that the movie's gonna be like the final boss of convoluted, confusing storytelling. A lot of the times the movie skips the show don't tell rule and goes for the already know what we're talking about, so we're not gonna show or tell rule, which, I mean, I do know what they're talking about, but that kind of just leaves fans wanting more and non-fans sitting there bored. That goes for the animatronics as well. The animatronics in this movie visually, I don't think could have been better. There were some notable differences in the appearances of the first movie's characters to the game. Not that that was a problem since they still looked dope, but man, the second movie knocked it out of the park. They had about 18 different costumes and animatronics to design, and man, each one just looks like it was ripped straight from the game. They move a lot more freely, they were scarier in some cases, they were just absolute eye candy. Which makes me really sad because, again, when you're balancing 18 different characters on your plate, not everyone can have their moment to shine. I think the biggest culprits for this lack of screen time are the Wizards. Again, holy crap do they look good, and are even genuinely scary on their own, like, not manufactured scary because of loud noises and crap. I mean, just look at Withered Chica. Hell no. But unfortunately, their section of the movie, that being the kind of recreation of the game in which Mike has to perform tasks on his monitor while keeping the animatronics out of the office, which also looks great, by the way, and keeping the Wizards at bay with his Freddy mask. While being really cool and totally what fans wanted more of, I still want more of it. It really doesn't last as long as the trailers would have you believe. Honestly, if you've seen the trailer, you've seen most of that scene. And slight spoiler, I really hope you're not a Withered Bonnie fan or one of the people that poured their hearts into building him, cause he's on screen for maybe 5 seconds. He wakes up, he gets a vent door closed on him, and you never see him again. It's tragic. I will say also, the Wizards do feel a little slow, I guess. I mean, it gives us more time to look at their amazing designs, but like Withered Foxy, he sees through Mike's mask. Oh crap, he's cooked. He's gonna get a hook through his eye. Oh wait. No, Withered Foxy's just gonna, like, stand there and give him time to power him down. Okay. It's also kind of hilarious how the movie gets Mike alone in the office. They had to do it or else the fans would have crucified the director, but, like, Mike and Vanessa are together in the office and Mike is like, Vanessa, you have to leave. And Vanessa is like, what? But Mike, the animatronics. No, there are no killer animatronics. I'll be fine. But what about those really scary ones you saw on the way in? No, I'll be fine. leave. And then she does leave, and Mike is indeed not fine. But even still, despite all that crap, this scene is still one of the best in the movie. It's so awesome to see them directly recreate game elements, and I think they succeeded, even if only for a brief, beautiful moment. Balloon Boy is perfectly Balloon Boy. There's a couple really cool Easter eggs, which made my jaw drop. It was sick. Speaking of sick, the toy animatronics. They portrayed the toy animatronics mostly, basically perfectly. Like, again, they look like the in-game models placed in real life. It's incredible. And their screen time is also a bit better compared to the Wizards. Freddy and Bonnie maybe could have used an extra scene or two, but man, Toy Chica definitely earned her place on that movie poster. She was basically a main character for a while there. I wish everyone could have gotten the same amount of time to shine as her, but I don't think there would have been any time for a story left. But oh brother, let me tell you, if there's any character in this movie I would have paid anything to see more of, it's Mangle. I cannot even imagine the technical nightmare the Jim Henson Company had on their hand when Scott Cawthon showed them the design for Mangle. But come on, give me something. I don't think there's a single shot in this movie of Mangle that isn't either drowning in motion blur or it's only showing her head poking through a window. But even then, she's only on screen for a millisecond. I haven't seen any of her in the behind the scenes yet. Did she even have an actual body? I'm starting to think those 3 shots of her on the car are CGI, and they only built a head and 2 arms, because she's ridiculously underused. I mean, I understand why, but she was probably what I was looking forward to the most, and I can imagine someone watching this movie and missing that she was even in it. If you went to the bathroom for the scene with Vanessa driving, you literally missed Mangle's entire contribution. I was really disappointed by her not really doing anything in this film. It could have been great. Whatever, I have to let her go. There's 50 other things to talk about. I'm sorry, sweet angel. I have to do what the movie did to you. Okay, one thing I thought would be really intrusive going into the movie was the voices. The first movie definitely made the right choice in opting to leave the characters voiceless. It would have been a whole can of worms I don't really think it needed to open. So I was pretty worried when I found out not only would the second movie's animatronics talk, but that they would be voiced by Megan Fox and Matt Pat. But you know what, it really didn't have an effect on me. Toy Chica sounded familiar enough, and the other 2 really didn't have much to say. I guess it's kind of weird that they ditched Toy Freddy's game voice and went for a generic, deep cartoon bear voice, but it fit fine, I guess. It's really funny to me that Toy Bonnie could have literally been voiced by anybody with how high-pitched and how many effects they put over his dialogue, but if it means more Matt Pat content exists on this planet, I'll take it. And Mangle didn't talk. All in all, the animatronics in this movie I think were a lot better compared to the first. Individually, they might not have been as strong, but as a whole, they had a lot more to do this time around. There was a lot more time spent looking at robots and a lot less time spent looking at Josh Hutcherson's beautiful eyes. Which is a win, at least for me. Hey, let's talk about those other characters, the human ones. For starters, I think Vanessa was infinitely better in this movie. I felt like a lot of the choices they made with her in the first movie were really goofy. I'm looking at you. If you ever bring Abby here again, I will shoot you. She felt like a cartoon, and I found it pretty difficult to take her seriously. She feels and acts a lot more like a human being this time. I think she's more intriguing as a character too, and I really love what they did with her dream sequences and flashbacks. I'll talk more about the flashbacks in the spoiler section of the video, but wow, they were genuinely great. I just buy her a lot more as a traumatized, messed up person trying to work through her past, but being pulled back down by the memory of her father and other family members of hers. I like how a lot of the things introduced in this movie not being mentioned previously is chalked up to Vanessa just being a liar. Definitely not because they didn't have any idea how to tie together the monstrosity that is Fnaf's lore. But yeah, she's good, her acting's good, and I like the relationship with Mike a lot. Mike and Abby in this movie have a lot less focus, which I think was necessary to make room for everything else. I think they work better in smaller doses, and I enjoyed their scenes more in this movie because it feels less like we're just waiting for them to end so we can see Freddy fart ho Faz kill somebody. Mike is kind of a jerk to Vanessa in this one for a lot of it, which I think is well deserved. Like, call this chick out on all her weird crap. Everybody wants a clingy girlfriend until they start acting like this. I really like Abby's teacher, played by the Jurassic Park guy. He's really funny. I really like this guy, who I'll talk about later. I also really like these guys, which I'll talk about later. Actually, I'll just talk about them now. I'm ending the non-spoiler part of the video on a cliffhanger. we're transitioning into the spoiler section, so I'm not gonna hold back anymore. Go see the movie if you haven't already. It's a fun time regardless of the flimsy story. And if you've seen the first movie, you already know what you're in for. Also, I guarantee you there's nothing else out right now except maybe Zootopia 2. Okay, now that I'm free of the non-spoiler chains, I gotta talk about that opening scene. I think the movie peaked in the very beginning. That's not to say the rest was bad, but that opening scene was just incredible. The setting is amazing. They went above and beyond with the new location, from the colors and size to the river ride. It just feels so much more grand and interesting. The opening scene follows Charlotte, a little girl obsessed with this Freddy's location's main attraction, the marionette, as she witnesses Spring Bonnie luring a kid into the back rooms. She then follows their trail and attempts to save the kid before ultimately being murdered herself and falling into the arms of the marionette, presumably possessing it. 10 out of 10. I loved it. The people sitting next to me in the theater showed up like 30 minutes late, and the whole time I couldn't stop thinking about how mid the rest of the movie would be after they missed this scene. It pissed me off. They were all dressed up as Five Nights at Freddy's characters too. Like, how are you gonna show up half an hour late, bro? But anyway, yeah, actually getting to see Spring Bonnie carry out one of his murders had my Fnaf fan senses tingling and had me locked the freak in. I think the actress for Charlotte did a really good job. The tension was really high in the scene, and it's exactly what I would have wanted from something like this. I didn't think they'd actually do it. I thought the 8-bit minigame in the intro for the first movie was all we'd get, but then Charlotte rolls over and we see stab wounds on her back, and I'm like, oh wow, they really took it there. And I'm so glad they did. We also see the marionette for the first time here, and my jaw fell off. I really wish we could have seen the marionette's actual body more in the film. I'm like 50-50 on the movie's invention, being that the puppet can take control of other people's bodies and use them as vessels to move around. On one hand, it feels kind of cheap, like it was easier than having the actual puppet move around for these scenes, while at the same time I unironically like how it looks. The makeup and limbs of the possessed victims was actually kind of scary to me. I would have just given the marionette and her victims equal screen time, I guess. I saw some people disappointed that the puppet is just generically evil now, rather than her game counterpart being some kind of anti-hero, but I don't really agree. I'd be pissed at the parents of the world too if a bunch of them completely ignored my desperate pleading for help. Like, what the hell? Like, if a little kid ran up to you at Chuck E. Cheese's and went, hey, I want to show you something, I could understand waving them off, but if a little girl runs up to you crying and screams, help, a little kid needs help, I don't think anyone is gonna go, not now, kid, the pizza just got here. Like, yeah, you know what, maybe the animatronics should go kill a bunch of parents. In fact, go ahead and kill this whole town. This is a place where people will murder a guy down on his luck for $1,000, and we throw a festival celebrating the place where kids disappeared and got murdered. But we can't have that because then we might have to have Mangle on screen for more than 4 seconds. Anyways, Abby's going to school and getting her robotics project crapped on by her teacher, which he continues to do throughout the whole movie, even though, like, the whole school loves it. Like, later in the movie, Toy Chica goes to the school, and this freaking guy breaks up a crowd of people who are all in awe looking at this thing, and he's like, Abby, stop, everyone's gonna hate this. Like, read the room, dude. Mike's going on an awkward date with Vanessa. Vanessa's having nightmares about her father, which are some of the coolest moments in the movie. I mean, Matthew Lillard is in this full-length film for maybe 1 minute, and he still takes the spotlight. Screw you, Quentin Tarantino, calling him the worst actor you've ever seen. Go do your Fortnite collab and suck on some toes. The biggest surprise for me in the theater was seeing Baby in William Afton's workshop. I mean, if my jaw was already on the floor, then it imploded when the camera panned up to Baby, and she looks down at Vanessa. I really didn't know how they would incorporate Elizabeth and Baby and a lot of the stuff from Sister Location, considering it doesn't look like William Afton has another daughter in these movies, unless Vanessa just forgot to mention that too. But I guess what they're implying with this is William Afton wanted to put her inside of Baby so she'd live forever, or maybe kill more kids. I don't know, but this right here, this is how you do fan service. Also, the bootleg Freddy plush making the har 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 audio. This right here, this is peak. One scene which I was a little disappointed by was when the ghost hunting squad goes to the original Freddy's location with Michael. I sort of thought that this would be like this movie's equivalent of the breaking in scene from the first one, where each of the characters would get picked off one by one and die in cool ways. And it sort of was, minus the cool ways. The deaths of these characters weren't super interesting to me, and didn't really show off the animatronics' unique abilities very well. I also wasn't super impressed by how censored they were. I thought the first movie did a better job working around its PG-13 rating to still at least get a little bit of gore. I don't want to sound monkey-brained and say, more death equals movie good, but I could have used a little bit more in this film. I can count the number of deaths on one hand and still have a finger left to brush Josh Hutcherson's razor-sharp jawline. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, Michael Afton. He's here. Right there, there he is. He's definitely in this movie. I thought the actor that portrayed him was perfectly creepy, and I like that the movie never really tries to pretend that he isn't. It's obvious who this is to the fans the second he introduces himself, and it's obvious he's not exactly a good guy to the non-fans. However, this, along with Henry, which I'll just group in here since he's literally only in one scene, I'll reserve judgment for until the next movie. I imagine this is like Thanos being in Guardians of the Galaxy before he's a huge part of Infinity War. They're planting the seeds for something that could be really good and will become more relevant in the next movie, so calling them irrelevant here would be like a little unfair. However, I'm not calling them irrelevant. Henry especially, like, dude, just mention that you're William Afton's old business partner. Like, I know you do it at the end of the credits, but come on, bro. I know it, you know it, just say it. But then skipping ahead, you have the animatronics outside of the restaurant. Corey Kenshin shows up and I stand up and clap. Toy Chica says, "Do you like my new body?" And I stand up and drool. Toy Chica crushes the teacher's skull like Omni-Man, and it's tough. There's more jump scares in this one, which feels right at home with Fnaf. Mangle is on the roof of the car, and it's beautiful for a moment, and then it leaves just as fast as it came. Toy Freddy is walking around at FazFest, which, pause. Maybe I'm just a little stupid homunculus, but I don't understand FazFest in this movie. Like, twice a character will say, "Man, your aunt really got everyone invested in Freddy's again." And again, maybe I'm dumb, but isn't Mike's aunt dead? Like, the whole town got invested in Freddy's again after one of them murdered her? Or maybe Mike told everyone about how the bodies of missing kids were in the robots and that got everyone excited about it again? What is wrong with this town? I feel like there's some scenes missing from FazFest because it's really brief and I don't really understand it, but if it meant that Dawko got a 2-millisecond cameo, then it was worth it. Toy Bonnie is creeping around outside of a house. Mike is ripping Balloon Boy's head off and dealing with the Wizards, which I guess the explanation that the Wizards are prototypes is decent. Despite having some of the coolest designs in the franchise, they've always been a little underdeveloped, I guess. I don't really know how, like, for example, they used Withered Bonnie's face to make the toy animatronics. Like, the Wizards are fabric and the toys are plastic. Maybe they only use the endoskeleton pieces? I don't know. There's a tasteful Shadow Bonnie Easter egg. Mangle gets thrown through a wall and crashes into Freddy. Bonnie is trying to kill a mother and her child. There's a lot going on is what I'm trying to say. I was having a slightly hard time trying to follow what exactly Mike was doing on the computer and who's controlling the animatronics and stuff, but it doesn't matter. I'm watching the pretty pictures. The puppet busts out of Toy Chica's chest and possesses Abby, which I think was really cool. I didn't know how Abby survived this because we see that the ghost hunter girl didn't survive being possessed, but then I remembered that Abby is a main character and the other girl wasn't, so. And then basically what it comes down to is our main character is being surrounded by the toy animatronics and Michael Afton, who reveals that he's Vanessa's brother that she never mentioned, and he's like, "You're one of us, you have a purpose." And she's like, "No." So then Michael Afton tells the toys to kill them. But then this movie's Avengers moment comes in, kind of. My friend saw the movie before I did, and one of the things he told me is that there was a really awesome fight scene towards the end, so I sat there waiting for it to happen, but I only realized after the credits started rolling that this is probably what he meant by fight scene. Really, it's more like an assassination scene, because the animatronics from the first movie come in, and they catch the toy animatronics lacking, and then they kill them off one by one. Part of me wishes the toy animatronics had been killed off in more unique ways, since there's a lot of ripping robots' heads off in this. It's definitely not the originals versus toys it could have been, but it was still pretty cool, I guess. I especially love Toy Bonnie getting curb stomped by Foxy. But then after they save the day, all of the originals start dying too because they left the location. And so they start to go off to heaven, but like, that's it. This movie explains the animatronics can't leave the restaurant because there's like some security measure in place, which I guess kills them, but isn't that what the ghost kids want? This whole time, if they wanted their souls to be set free, all they had to do was just leave. Sure, why not? The Golden Freddy kid warns Mike that he can't keep Springtrap down anymore, and then he dips. One of my biggest problems with the first movie was its weird ham-fisted inclusion of Golden Freddy with no explanation, and this movie didn't really even address him. I promise it's a good movie, guys, please. And then Michael Afton runs away, but gets slammed into the ground and caught. But then the idiot that caught him just leaves him in the grass, and he escapes again to hopefully do more in the next movie. And Mike and Abby are saved. Mike tells Vanessa he doesn't want anything to do with her anymore, which is a choice he probably should have made a long time ago. And Vanessa gets possessed by the puppet, which I guess everyone forgot about, and the movie ends. It ends on like kind of a cliffhanger, but also not. I don't know how many movies there's gonna be. There's at least definitely gonna be a third one based on the post-credit scene, but I hope at some point Vanessa becomes Vanny and we can start to make up for the mistake that was Security Breach, because she might have actually been my favorite character in this movie. By the way, the post-credit scene was really awesome, showing a group of guys salvaging whatever they could out of the decrepit Freddy's location before they tear it down and finding Springtrap lying there. From what I can tell, he looks decidedly more like Springtrap than he did before, given that he's green. I don't know if the post-credit scene is supposed to take place a while after this movie, but I guess it didn't really take that long for him to start looking like a zombie compared to the game, which took like 30 years. Maybe that's just what happens when you have a rotting body inside of you. I've never tried it. Either way, all of this succeeded in getting me excited for the next one, and I think it has potential to be the best out of the 3. But you know, maybe they should stop at 3. I appreciate Baby's inclusion, but oh my god, imagine the train wreck that would be them trying to turn anything after the 4th game into a movie. I hope the next one mixes elements of the 3rd and 4th games, such as the Bite and Fazbear Frights and maybe even the Crying Childs, and leaves it at that. But you know, if the games couldn't do it, I highly doubt the money-making behemoths that are these movies are going to be able to do it. In the end, I think this movie was completely on par with the first. It's drowning in plot holes and weak writing, and yes, the movie is not scary. But if those issues didn't stop me from having a good time with the first one, then they didn't stop me here. It's been said a million times by now, but these movies are strictly for the fans. I don't think it had to be that way. Similar to the Minecraft movie, all the pieces were in place for an incredible film for anyone to watch, but I'm grateful that what we got in these 2 movies was at least more respectable than the godforsaken Minecraft movie. If all these movies are for is for people like me to go see with friends and point to the screen and say, hey, that's Freddy Fazbear, then I'll have fun doing it. Similar to how I might listen to music, which I don't think is exactly amazing, but still have fun listening to it, I watch these movies to feel nostalgic and connected to one of my favorite franchises, even if they aren't works of art. This movie is not super good, and I had an amazing time with it. I can't wait to watch it again. Well, that's it. I've been looking for a way to transition into movie reviews as well as Five Nights at Freddy's content from my channel, and this was it. If you guys liked the video and want to see more of it, let me know in the comments. Also, just let me know your thoughts on the movie. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you somewhere in the middle? I'd love to know. Leaving a like would be radical, subscribing would be faztastic, and I'll see you all in the next one.